Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Love Without Limits by Harper Bliss. Narrated by Angela Dawe. Chapter 1. I thought it would have taken me much longer to get used to this domesticity, but when I get the chance to crawl under the covers with Joe, it's like I'm glowing on the inside, all warm and lit up and ready for a prolonged snuggle. Joe doesn't look so pleased to be sharing this intimate moment with me. I scoot closer and curl an arm around her waist. Look on the bright side, I say. You get to go to bed early with Caitlin James. This makes a smile appear on her face. Aren't I the lucky one? She says. No, that would be me. I kiss her shoulder. I get to have an early night with Josephine Greenwood. I should really sleep in the other room, Joe says. My coughing will only keep you awake. I refuse. I curl my arm around her tighter. Stay. Your choice, but I don't want any complaints about this in the middle of the night. Her face scrunches together before it erupts into a sneeze. I instinctively recoil a little. After she's blown her nose, she asks, Are you sure? I nod, although I hope I don't catch this cold. I shuffle a little closer to her again. She sighs. I don't even mind about the money so much. It's letting the audience down that I care about. This is the 21st century. How can no one have found a cure for the common cold yet? Fair question. Maybe you should go over to the science department tomorrow and ask one of the brainiacs there. I don't know what I'm doing in bed yet. I'm not tired. You need to sleep, Joe. You don't get nearly enough sleep. I don't need that much. Her voice is scratchy from coughing. A good night's sleep will boost your immune system. With a bit of luck, you'll feel much better in the morning. Joe looks at me from under her lashes. You just sounded a lot like Amber. All those yoga lessons you take with her must be rubbing off on you. Amber only ever has good advice to dispense. Joe's lips draw into a pout, but she doesn't say anything. What? I ask. She shakes her head. Nothing. If you're not ready to go to sleep, we might as well talk. She adjusts her position so she can look at me better. You know how the brain can make these crazy associations, jump from one random thing to the next? I nod. Thinking of Amber made me think of how you slept with her once, and that made me think of something else. Something I've been meaning to ask you for some time. Shoot. We've been together a while now. Joe reaches for a handkerchief and wipes the underside of her nose. I guess I've been wondering when you're going to bring up the inevitable question. The inevitable question? I know what she's getting at. Of course I do. But before I can bring up this subject, we'll have to work on our communication skills a bit more. You know... Her facial expression tightens. Sleeping with other people. Darling, I'm not sure tonight is the right night to start that conversation. You're a little grumpy about having to cancel your gig, which I understand completely, and you're sick. I stroke my thumb over her hand. Tonight, you just need to be pampered. I just would like to know. I feel like this has been hanging over my head since we got together. That any time you could sit me down and tell me it's time we started sleeping with strangers. I would never even dream of broaching the subject when you're so defensive, although I'm beginning to think we should have talked about it already, as it's clearly weighing on you. You make it sound like something I'm going to force on you, while that's absolutely not the case. Joe's features relax, and she sinks a little deeper into the pillows. Frankly, I don't even know where we would find the time. To have a conversation? I envelop her hand in mine. To find other people to sleep with. I barely have time to spend with you. She locks her gaze on mine. Even though Joe has moved in with me, she's very adamant about her financial independence, so I have to tread carefully. How many colds have you had this winter? It seems you've barely healed from one when another's already waiting in the wings. Maybe your body's trying to tell you something. I'm not even 30. I can take it. It wouldn't hurt to listen to the cues your body is trying to give you a little more. It's not normal to suffer from so many colds, and this is not the first gig you've had to cancel. Maybe it's time for something else to give? Jo pushes herself up a little. How did this turn into a conversation about my health? I thought we were talking about something else entirely. Being under 30 doesn't make you superhuman. You need to take care of yourself. You were already stretched too thinly when we met, between working at the Pink Bean, working on your PhD, and being Cheryl's teaching assistant, which is why I'm no longer Cheryl's TA. I can tell you're not in the mood to talk about this, but you just need to tell me one more time. Jo's lips draw into a soft smile. Maybe it's time to stop working at the Pink Bean. You can't keep on doing all the things you've been doing. So I could have more time to sleep with other people. She tilts her head. I shake mine in response. You're being deliberately contrary. She clasps a hand to her chest. Who, me? Yes, you. I sneak my hand along her belly. If you weren't sick, I'd punish you. Oh, really? How would you do that? She puts her hand over mine. I have my ways, but if you want to find out, you need to get better first. Yes, ma'am. Jo leans forward and kisses me on the forehead. I just hate not being able to sing. She lets herself drop against the pillows again. Don't I know it? I give her a smile. If only you could hold a tune, I could send you as my replacement. She chuckles. What are you insinuating? Same as always. She puts her head on my shoulder. You're a woman of many talents, but singing's not one of them. My voice is just more of an acquired taste, that's all. No, honey. Her chin bumps against my shoulder as she shakes her head. It's really not. Go to sleep now, I say. We'll continue this conversation later. As we settle under the sheets, I know it will be a while before I'm able to nod off. My mind is too preoccupied with things left unsaid. Chapter 2. Come on, Cheryl, I urge. How many times are you going to make me beg? It's not me making you beg, it's you who can't stop begging. This is exactly why I want you on the show, so you can say things like that on camera. I have no desire to be on TV, Caitlin. Besides, there are many people more interesting to interview than me. Completely false. To me, there's no one more interesting than you. Really? Cheryl cocks up an eyebrow. You'd not rather interview yourself? She bursts out into a chuckle. I don't know where I got this self-centered reputation. Am I really that bad? As my friend, tell me the truth. I wouldn't dare. Cheryl shoots me a wide grin. She looks over at the counter where Jo is busy with a customer. You should have Jo on. Oh, that would be a conflict of interest. Cheryl rolls her eyes. Excuses, excuses. Well, maybe I would if she weren't so exhausted all the time. She has already quit working for me, something I hold you personally responsible for, by the way. I know Cheryl doesn't mean it. Not that she wasn't sad to lose Jo as her TA. You should have paid her better than your wife does. In what universe does working in a coffee shop pay more than working at the university? Being a teaching assistant is more of a prestige than a money job. A sad state of affairs, I say. No offense to Kristen or the Pink Bean, but I so wish she would stop working here. It's too much. But it's not your decision to make. I know. It needs to come from her. I just don't understand why she's so stubborn about it. She makes good money singing. She has royalties from the book. It was already a big decision for her to stop being my TA. For the first time, she's making ends meet. She might be scared that her luck will run out. I was like her when I was her age, so I do understand. But I have the benefit of hindsight. If I could be her age all over again, I would take more time to enjoy life instead of working all the time. Singing is not a job for Jo, and I dare say she gets more than money out of working here. Next year she'll finish her PhD. Everything will change then. I have the most uncanny buzzing in my ears. Jo suddenly stands next to our table. As though you were talking about me behind my back. Instinctively, I bring my hand to her back. You're my girlfriend, and Cheryl's my friend. It's only natural I should talk to her about you. Only good things, I hope. Jo looks at Cheryl. How could we ever say anything bad about the great Josephine Greenwood? Cheryl says. Oh, Christ, it must have been really terrible then. 2 new customers walk in. Excuse me. Joe walks away, leaving my hand to tumble down. Cheryl hunches over the table. We all have to make our own way in life, no matter how experienced the woman we share our life with. But isn't that one of the big advantages of being in a relationship with a woman who's 20 years older? To learn from the wisdom she has acquired? I don't think it's your age that made Joe fall in love with you. Cheryl sits there smirking. Nor your life experience. Just my general loveliness, then. I lean back and smirk at Cheryl. What else could it be? She sips from her coffee. I roll my eyes at her and glance at Joe, who's chatting to a customer. I think of all the conversations we've yet to have, and how if she hadn't pushed me to think about it yesterday, I wouldn't have brought up opening up our relationship for a good long while. So, I straighten my posture again. Is that another official no from you? Jessica's not going to be pleased. Who is this Jessica you keep mentioning anyway? And why does she want you to interview me so badly? She's my new boss at the network, and an executive I actually get along with. She does, however, very much enjoy suggesting guests for my show. But why me? Maybe she'd like to get to know you better. I quirk up my eyebrows. Cheryl shakes her head. You tell Jessica that not every person on the planet wants to be on TV. Fine, but remember when I made you look good by guest lecturing at the university? As if you would ever let me forget. Besides, you enjoy lecturing. It was no hardship for you, and it allowed you to woo Joe. You can hardly say I'm the only one who benefited from that. Nor would I be the only one to benefit from you coming on my show. You have important things to say, and we need more women like you on television. Cheryl paints on a knowing smirk. The answer is still no. I bet the dean would love it. Cheryl holds up her hand. Stop, please. She looks at her watch. I need to get to the university, where I will tell the dean all about this missed opportunity, of course. I'd better go, too. I'll have to disappoint my boss again. We both rise and kiss each other goodbye. I stop by the counter to blow Joe an air kiss. See you tonight, darling, I say. I'll be home late, she replies. Jimmy and I are rehearsing a few new songs. Chapter 3. While I wait for this week's brainstorming meeting to begin, the one where we come up with a bunch of questions that will be pared down to the most inquisitive ones, I look over the research on this week's guest. As a way of placating Jessica, I have agreed to interview Kathy Kramer, the star of Australia's longest-running and most popular reality TV show. A far cry from interviewing the likes of Cheryl, I think, although I have to admit that in the few months since I took over the Zoya Das show and turned it into the Caitlin James show, some of the guests of whom I expected the least have surprised me the most. And Jessica was very persuasive when she made her case for Kathy Kramer. That's the problem with Jessica. She has very convincing ways, and I haven't quite figured out yet how to say no to the new boss. While Zoya is off in Paris, living a life of romance with her French girlfriend and befriending the French president, Dominique Laroche, I'm stuck with Kathy Kramer. In the document my team have prepared, there are endless links to tabloid articles which I refuse to follow until my mouse trigger finger accidentally opens one. The link takes me to a Daily Post article about how Kathy has supposedly split from her boyfriend. I roll my eyes, but before I can close the tab, my eye is drawn to a headline lower down the sidebar. Media mogul Edward Porter's daughter nabs top exec job at ANBC. I can't help but click on it. However small, the picture of Jessica next to it is too compelling to ignore. The article speaks of Jessica's appointment in her father's company as though it were a scandal, as though Jessica has no skills that would merit her a job at ANBC. The article also speaks of Jessica's sexual orientation, as though it has something to do with her professional life. I'm quickly reminded why I don't read rags like the Daily Post and click away before I get sucked into the gutter of humanity that is the comments section. When I first started presenting the show, I asked my team to collect all press clippings about it, except from the Daily Post. Life's too short for their disrespectful tone and double standard for women. I try to refocus on the research about Kathy Kramer, but even though I've only read a few pages, I already feel I know all there is to know about her. I should really learn to hold a firmer stance against Jessica. I refuse to think of her in terms of only getting the job because her father owns the company, but I do wonder if she has picked my show to meddle with because it's just as new as she is, because it makes her feel more comfortable. Someone knocks on the door and opens it without me having the chance to say come in. "How's it going?" Jessica asks. "Am I still welcome in your office after pushing Kathy Kramer on you?" She walks in and leans against my desk. It's not the first time she's dropped by unannounced. As a new exec, doesn't she have anything more pressing to do? We'll make it work. I look into her eyes. It'll be a ratings hit, which, she leans over my desk, is exactly what we need. Jessica's predecessor, who hired me and was very enthusiastic about me filling the empty spot Zoya's departure had left in the network's schedule, barely even mentioned ratings. He knew what the show was about and realized that, just like the Zoya Doss show, it would never be a big commercial hit, but a welcome addition to balance out the more popular programming. Jessica Porter does not seem to agree with this. I scan her face. Her lips are tilted into a small smile. There's a glint in her eyes that I can't decipher. Not in this context, anyway. I thought ANBC had plenty of hit shows already, but Kramer's being one of them. "Can I sit for a minute?" Jessica points at a chair. "Sure." Before she sits, she pushes the door shut. She then leans back in her chair and crosses one leg over the other. "Your show is great, Caitlin. I'm a huge fan. You do a great job. I'm just not sure anyone here is aware of its true potential, of your true potential. I'm talking about a possible primetime spot." I scoff and shake my head. You know my show is not designed to be primetime material. It's much too serious for that, not enough sensation. Apparently it's Jessica's turn to shake her head. "Zoya Doss made it serious, but it doesn't necessarily need to continue in that vein now that you've taken over. We could lighten it up, get more commercial guests on." I furrow my brow. "Then I don't understand why you've been nagging me to invite Cheryl. She's a professor. An interview with her would hardly be light entertainment." "I agree, which is why we'd need her on the show before we change its format." What's with the "we," I want to ask? And the change of format? Jessica's starting to get on my nerves with her presumptuousness, and for a split second, I feel myself agreeing with the Daily Post. Who is Jessica, a person who only got this job because her father owns the parent company, to interfere with my show? Then I regret my thought, and reading the article, and take a deep breath. "Miss Porter," I say, trying to sound respectful, "I have no desire to change the format of the show. If I did, it wouldn't be my show anymore. I don't mind humoring you and trying to find an extra dimension to the likes of Kathy Kramer because it would please you, but I don't intend to stoop so low every week." Oops. That didn't come out very respectful. "Please call me Jessica." She doesn't lose her smile. "I do understand where that remark is coming from, Caitlin." She puts emphasis on my name. "How about—" Her tongue flicks over her lower lip. "I take you out to lunch to talk this through a little more." She leans in my direction a fraction. "Or better yet, dinner?" I do my best not to expel a sigh, so that's what this is about. "I can do lunch." I make a point of looking at my calendar on my computer screen. "How about tomorrow?" "Tomorrow it is." Jessica paints a wide smile on her face, and all of a sudden I can't make heads nor tails of her again. She remains seated while neither of us speaks for a few moments. Then she scoots up. "I think you and I will have lots to talk about." After she's left my office, I lean back and think about our exchange. Is Jessica really interested in changing my show? Or is she after something else? Probably a bit of both. Chapter 4. Jo arrives home after 11, just as I've given up waiting for her and am getting ready for bed. "Good rehearsal?" I ask as I gather her in my arms. Even though she told me this morning she would be late, I'm a little pissed off, but I'm happy to see her regardless. "Sorry I'm so late. We had trouble getting a song right. Jimmy wrote a new arrangement for it, and the changed melody made it very weird for me to sing. I just couldn't get the hang of it." "Which song?" Maybe if I'm lucky, I can get her to sing it for me. The cold she suffered from a few days ago seems to have gone away.
So cruel.
You two? I can't keep a hint of disappointment out of my voice.
I know you dislike them, babe, but Jimmy Hero worships the edge.
By rewriting his melodies? I nod. I can only make the song better. Joe kisses me on the cheek.
How was your day?
I contemplate for a second whether I should tell her about Jessica. It's late, and it could spark a long conversation. But I have to tell her, if only in the spirit of the complete openness I want to create between us. My new boss wants me to lighten up my show and thinks the best way to get me to do so is by openly flirting with me.
Jessica Porter?
Joe asks and takes a step back. I'm glad she's remembered Jessica's name. Sometimes Joe seems so preoccupied with all her activities, I fear she barely listens to me at all. I nod.
What did she say?
Joe's interest seems piqued. She asked me to lunch, then swiftly changed her mind and asked me to dinner. Joe brings her hands to her sides.
What was your reply?
I agreed to lunch. I thought dinner was a bit much. Joe shuffles backwards and sits on the armrest of the sofa. It's just a business lunch, I'm quick to say.
But she did flirt with you?
I think so, yes.
So she's after more than just lunch?
I feel awkward just standing in the middle of the room like this. My gut says she is, which is why I didn't agree to dinner. Joe scrunches her lips together.
Is this when we have the talk?
She sits down on the sofa properly. It could be, but just to be very clear, I have no desire to sleep with my boss. I walk to the drinks cart. Splash of something? I ask. Joe nods, then lets her head fall back. After I've poured us both a generous measure of whiskey, which reminds me of the very first time she came to my apartment, and she nearly gagged when she sipped from it, I sit next to her. I have no intention of responding to Jessica's flirtation in kind, babe. I take a sip from my drink. I've had this conversation a few times in the past, but this time around it seems so much harder. The words don't sound right as they roll from my lips. Not just because she's my boss, but also because I'm not sure you and I are there yet. I know you brought it up the other day, and I do think we should talk about it. I'm just not sure how you actually feel about it.
That's because I don't know.
Well, you saying it was like something hanging over your head shocked me, like it's a very unwelcome destiny you can't escape.
I fell in love with you. I knew all about this, and it didn't stop me from falling deeper and deeper in love. I know this is who you are. This is what you want, Joe says in a nervous voice. The problem is that when you put it like that, you make it sound like something I need to convince you of, that it's my job to open you up to the possibility of desiring other people. That's a difficult spot to be in. Then let me make it easy for you.
She grins at me.
Don't. Let's just not. We're good the way we are. Why make things so endlessly complicated?
I drink to gather my thoughts. Because if we were to do that, I truly believe we would be doing ourselves, each other, and our relationship a great disservice. I find her gaze. We should at least be able to have the conversation.
Then why does even the prospect of the conversation already wear me out so much?
Because you're tired. You don't get nearly enough sleep, let alone plain old rest. When was the last time you spent more than a few hours doing nothing at all?
There we go again.
Joe puts her whiskey tumbler on the coffee table.
If you want to play with other people while I'm busy building my career, just go ahead. Just do it. I'm not in a stage of my life where I have the time or the inclination to explore this. I'm perfectly happy coming home to you after a long day, and before you say anything, I know you have loftier goals than to just sleep with other people. I get that you want our relationship to be different, to be less traditional, and I should respect that more, but you know what? To me, you are enough. I just wish I could be enough for you.
I swallow hard, then take her hand in mine. I think about what to say next, because I don't want it to be as hurtful as what she just said to me. I don't want things to escalate. It's too late in the day for that. I also don't want to sound like a lecturer on open relationships, because it's very clear my words will never convince Joe that what I chose as a way of life a long time ago can actually be a rewarding and wonderful process. I'm going to have to rely on something else than just my words. May I make a suggestion? I rub my thumb along her palm.
Of course.
Her voice has softened. You have fans. Adoring fans. I see how some girls look at you when you're on stage. Jo is already shaking her head. Just hear me out, okay?
Okay.
She holds on to my thumb. When someone you like comes up to you after a gig and they give you a compliment, when they're a little flirtatious, flirt back a little, just to see how it makes you feel. Just say something cheeky. That's it. No ulterior motives. Just some flirty banter. Jo has the kind of skin that can flush in an instant. Her cheeks are instantly rosy red.
Just because someone compliments my singing doesn't mean they're flirting.
You'd be surprised. I scoot a little closer and put a hand on her knee. But you need to be open to it to notice. Most people are not. Just try to be open to it at your next gig. That's all I ask. Then we'll talk about how it made you feel.
I'm not like you, babe. I'm not hot like you.
I tilt my head. Trust me, you're very hot, especially when you're on stage.
I'm more of an acquired taste. When someone sees you, like that Jessica, for instance, I can so easily imagine her thinking, oh, yes, I would like some of that. Whereas for the life of me, I can't imagine anyone thinking such a thing when they look at me.
That's only because of how you see yourself. I squeeze her knee. Most of the time. Except when you're singing. Then you forget to think. Then you exude confidence and charisma and sensuality. Take it from me. I take her hand in mine again. People are attracted to that.
But when I talk to them, I'm not on stage anymore. I'm not singing anymore.
I've seen you after gigs, darling. There's this window of time after you walk off the stage that you're a different person.
That's just it, though. I'm not me. I'm a different person.
I think those moments are more you than any other time. Since you've started performing on stage, you're coming into your own more and more. You're not the same shy girl I met a year and a half ago. Remember when I first asked you out? First, you followed your gut and said yes. You responded to my flirtation. But then the overthinking took over and you said no. You overthink much less these days. A direct consequence of the confidence you gain by singing for an audience.
Have I really changed that much?
I give her a slow nod. You have. I take her hand in mine again and kiss her palm this time. Think about what we do in bed these days as opposed to when we first got together. The thought sends a frisson of excitement up my spine. It was never my intention to end this conversation, even this day, like this, but now I can't stop myself. I kiss the inside of Jo's wrist, hoping she will catch my drift. Her voice is soft when she asks,
How about you? How have you changed?
I look her in the eyes and say, I only want you more each day. A cop-out if there ever was one, but I'm done talking. I want to make love to my girlfriend. We're naked in bed, and Jo lies on her back with a dildo strapped to her pelvis. Once I started kissing her on the sofa, it seems like we ended up naked in a matter of minutes. When I opened the drawer where we keep this particular sex toy, Jo knew without me having to say a word what kind of foreplay I had in mind. My hand drifts down to the toy while I kiss her. I'm going to make it nice and wet before she fucks me with it. When we break from the kiss, she looks up at me and says with nothing but authority in her voice,
Suck my cock.
The mere fact that she can say such a thing to me now is such a testament to how much she has changed. I may sometimes have to point out her transformation, but I like to believe that deep down, behind all those insecurities that sometimes make her life much harder than it has to be, Jo knows this as well. As I look at her face right now, I know she does. I kiss her on the lips once more, then make my way down. I trace a moist path along her neck and halt at her beautiful, luscious breasts. I take my time sucking her nipples into my mouth, but she starts pushing me down. When I first took Jo to bed, I'd never imagined her to be this bossy between the sheets. It took her a long time to get here, but here we are nonetheless. I love her all the more for it.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?